Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I'm really excited this week because I have a bit of an announcement. Today's video is about animal communication, and I actually now offer that service. I did a couple of courses through a very nice lady and did a couple of case studies. Many of you on Facebook who took part in the case studies know what it's all about. Morning, Monica. And that's the main announcement. I'm going to explain what it is and how it works and more about that, but I just wanted to get that out of the way first because I'm so excited. Animal communication is a form of telepathy, and basically it's having a conversation with the animal in your mind. And to a lot of people, this sounds kind of woo-woo is the phrase that we use, but I have to say I was skeptical about it at first, but having taken the classes, and Kaya's had 2 sessions before to see firsthand that how it works and how you can get specific bits of information, I can't even describe how that feels. But essentially it's the ability to see within someone's mind, to feel their feelings or communicate mentally. One really lovely thing about animal communication, on top of the many other things, is that it's now limited by distance. So one of the case studies that I did was for a friend of mine in Austria, and I talked to her cat, and it went really well. If you want to see the testimonial for that, it's on my website. There's 3 at the bottom of the testimonials list for animal communication if you want to see those. It's under the Happy Clients subpage under Why Me. And it also is not limited by time. So a lot of people think that the animal has to be sitting right in front of you. You have to have your hands on them. And it is that way for some therapies, but animal communication doesn't really work that way. In the same way that you can do Reiki over distance, you can do animal communication over distance. So I did 10 case studies after I finished learning, and I did all of them sitting right here. So you definitely do not have to be anywhere near the animals. Some people do them in person, but I figure it's easier for me to help more animals if I don't have to go to everybody, and some of them are quite far away. Scarborough, Mississauga, Austria, so it was easier to do it this way. You could also, more advanced animal communicators can talk to animals and pets that have crossed over already, or typically this is for if their death was really sudden or they have questions for them after they've passed. Most pet parents going into it have specific questions like, were they okay, or did I hurt their feelings when I did this, or I'm really sorry that I couldn't be there for this, and they just want to let them know. But sometimes it's questions like, was there something else I could have done to help you? Because as pet parents, we have a lot of grief and take that on very personally if we think that we could have done something to help. The most advanced animal communicators also work with lost pets. And it was the 4th of the 4 classes that I took. It is definitely for advanced people because you have to use remote tracking and things like that. And in that case, the animal basically describes to you their surroundings to the best of their ability, and you have to have a map of the area where you think they are and use the descriptions and talk to the owner to try and figure out where they are. And oftentimes these cases last a really long time if the pet's gone for quite a while, and they don't always end well. And having to explain to the owner that something may have happened to them, but you're not sure. Sometimes they get taken into somebody else's home, and you have to figure out where or kind of agree to let them go. And it's very painful, very difficult for the owner and the communicator because we have to relay these bits of information, and you don't want to be wrong in those cases. If you're doing a basic one and you say, oh, your cat likes the color blue instead of the color red, there's not much danger in that, in being wrong, but for animals that are lost, that's a really big deal. So definitely won't be doing that one anytime soon, but hopefully soon I'm going to be taking on some case studies soon for animals that have crossed over, because I've already gotten 4 requests. When I posted the case studies for the first 4 pets that are alive. So I'm going to start doing that soon. Hopefully I want to get some practice in first before I start doing that officially. But some people find that it really helps their pet feel more understood. So if there's certain bits of information and the owner doesn't understand why something's happening or why their pet is acting a certain way, oftentimes it's something simple that you can change in their environment that will make all the difference. And then all of a sudden your pet goes from not eating or not socializing to, laying in the window and watching everybody walk by. So it can make a really big difference. And I've noticed that in Kaya. I haven't done one with her just because our bond is really strong and I feel like I'm going to make assumptions about things that may not be true. So I want to get a little more experience before I work on her. But other people's pets, they seem to be going really well. I haven't had anybody that said I was totally off base, so that's really comforting. The most common things people have questions about, usually they come in with a set of questions about their animal. It's they're exhibiting a strange behavioral problem that either they've had for a really long time and they've tried everything and they don't know what to do, or it's really sudden and overnight they've developed this new behavior that's either dangerous, annoying, or just in general they probably shouldn't be doing it. Any changes in their environment, sometimes the animals act really strangely, and this can be a physical thing or a behavioral thing. But if it's something like new neighbors moved in next door, or one of your kids went back to school and the cat starts acting strangely, or somebody got a new job and their work hours are different and that changes their routine, oftentimes they like to be a part of big decisions like that. So if you don't tell them about it, they can react poorly to not being part of the decision. I know when we were thinking here about either moving or doing a reno, we talked about it as a family, but I didn't really know that much about animal communication at the time, so I was just talking out loud to Kai and I said, do you think you would like if we moved? How would you feel about, but just, I felt better just talking out loud to her, making sure that she didn't feel left out. I mean, I know she's going to like wherever we go, but I just want to make sure that she's part of that. Physical pain is also a really common one, because if they start acting strangely or walking or not wanting to go for walks or playing or things like that, oftentimes they have pain in a certain area of their body. And as a communicator, you can ask them to show you where it is. So either they'll highlight it on their own body or they'll mirror it to you so you can actually feel it. And I have had this happen before. One of the animals had knee pain, and I already have knee pain, so I'm pretty sensitive in that area, but I could feel like pins and needles more than normal. I'm going, okay, did something happen to the dog's leg? And she goes, yeah, a car backed into him at some point, so he does have sensitivity in that leg. Food is a big one. So if you change their food recently or suddenly they're not eating, food can be a big thing. Sometimes it's they just don't like the taste of the food, the protein source of the food, what have you. But sometimes it's just something in their environment changed and now it's disrupting something that's going on and they don't like it. Routine is another big one, especially if they're very meticulous. I find cats are more meticulous to their routine than dogs are. As long as the dogs get fed, they don't seem that bothered, although if their walks get interrupted, sometimes that's a big problem too. Travel. If either you're traveling for a long period of time and they have to be left somewhere, or if someone's coming into the house to check on them, they still like to know these things. So doing a short session ahead of time, saying this is what's going to happen, this person that you already know is coming to visit you, or you're going to your favorite camp, or something like that, just so they know what's going on and all of a sudden you don't disappear, because they're very sensitive to those things. And a lot of people don't realize how easily they're influenced by things in their environment, and they're very sensitive to not being included. Surgery is another big one, because especially in older pets, thanks Monica, especially in older pets, sometimes if you have to decide between giving them a surgery or letting them go, then they may want to be part of that decision. Most likely because they usually have opinions about that kind of thing. So you can do a short session to find out, how do you feel about the surgery? Do you think you want to do it? Or you can ask them questions about, do you think, you want to be around a little while longer? What kind of, information you can gather about that. But this one tends to be kind of sensitive because obviously you don't want to have to tell their owner that, they're really old and they're in a lot of pain every day and they're ready to go, because that's really hard for the person to take unless they've had a chronic illness for their whole life and, they've been in pain and they understand. But some people, it's really hard to translate that kind of stuff. But yeah, just asking their opinions about things. Just say, this person's going to be moving into the house. How do you feel about it? Or we're doing a renovation, and I've talked to Kai about it a couple times, and I said, okay, there's going to be a lot of noise. There's going to be a lot of people here. Just want to let you know that you still have all your space. Your routine will not be disrupted. We're just going to be going out the front door instead of the back door. And you'll still get your time running around. Your friends will still come pick you up for your group walks. Everything's fine. But just so you know, this is what's going to happen. And then one of her favorite people is moving in, so I'm sure she'll be fine with that part too. Yeah, I had a list of examples for you, but we've talked about most of them. One really big one too is trauma, because many people who adopt animals from other countries, or if they've been rescued and brought here or owned by somebody else previously, a lot of times the animals carry a lot from that past house and they have a lot of feelings about it and they want to talk about it. And sometimes they've been abused or something like that, and they have they've taken on the energy of that old place, and it's hard for them to move forward, or they're having trouble interacting in their new environment. And I've seen this quite a few times, but oftentimes I usually combine this with Reiki, because you can talk to them and communicate with them, but also help them heal through it at the same time. In some cases, just talking to the animal about what's going on, whether it's trauma or otherwise, it just gives them a sense that they've been heard and understood, and then they feel a lot better about it. But sometimes with trauma, they just want to talk about it, and then they feel better. So giving them that opportunity, because animals communicate with their body language, but a lot of pet parents either don't understand their body language, or they, that's as far as the conversation goes, and they can't give them more detail or anything like that. So it's nice to know sometimes, you get surprising information. Kaya's first animal communication session was for her birthday last year, and we got all kinds of information about, she likes gardening with my mom, and she thought she flew home because she was in a car, and she'd only been in a car for like 5 minutes before, and it was a 2.5-hour drive. So Monica says, are they startled when you first connect with them? Like, who is talking to me? I had a couple when I first connected, they're like, oh, hi. And then I kind of explained, my name is Jessie and your owner, whoever, wants me to talk to you. Is that okay? And then they'll either say, I haven't had any say no, but they kind of think about it for a minute and they go, yeah, okay, I have some stuff to say. And then they'll keep going. But sometimes, one of the first ones that I did, I connected to this dog, and he kind of looked at me really strange, because I'm doing it based on a picture, right? So in my mind, he looked at me really strange, and he goes, I've been waiting to talk to somebody. Like, he had a lot to say. He'd been rescued from another country, and he had a lot to say. So sometimes, they're more, most of them are more spiritual beings than we are, and they're connected with all of this stuff, so they're kind of just waiting around for somebody to talk to. And that's so cool. I think so, because the first couple I did, I had to kind of sit and bask in it after. I was like, that actually happened. That was a real conversation that happened, and the owner confirmed everything that I said. So, it's kind of hard not to believe in it after you see some of the things that they've said. But typically when I do it, I need the name of your pet, the age of your pet, and the gender, and then a picture, which doesn't have any other living beings in it. So it can't have people and it can't have other animals in it, even if it's like a squirrel in the background, because you don't want to mix up the energy from that kind of thing. I have only done distance sessions. I've been told by a couple of people that my prices are low, but I want to start and then see how it goes. So right now I offer 15-minute sessions and 30-minute sessions because if something really traumatic has happened, sometimes a 30-minute session is better. But all of the case study ones that I did were about 15 minutes, and I got a page of information for each of them. So it's not that you won't get enough information. Usually if you have specific questions, it goes faster because they know exactly, what kind of information to pass back and forth. But 15 minutes is $40. And I can either do it with you over Facebook Messenger or Skype or something like that. The case studies that I did, I had them send me a picture. And when I had time that week, I did it. And then I sent them a summary of it. And I find sometimes that's easier because if I pass the information on as it's happening, the owner will have a lot of questions. And then you get less information from the animal. So sometimes I find it's better that way. But there are a lot of pet parents that want to be present when it happens. And I know when I did mine with Kaya, we did it over the phone. And, she'd say something and then I'd ask her about it and she would go back and forth. So it's more like a conversation. So if you have specific questions, then sometimes that can be better. But again, it depends on what you feel like doing and where you live, because international phone calls are expensive. So in that case, we'd probably do something like Skype instead. But that's the 15-minute one. The 30-minute one is $65, and same process. You just get more information and longer. Some animals, they'll say their piece and then they say, I have nothing else to say. But oftentimes they'll keep talking about something else, even if, it's not the main reason that the owner contacted me, but it could be something else like, okay, you've dealt with the reason why you bark when you see people walk by, and then he starts talking about something that happened to him a couple years ago when he was out with somebody. And, that could have related to why he barks at people when they walk by, but you don't know until you get the information. And sometimes you get information that isn't going to happen for a little while. So sometimes they say, well, that's not true because that's never happened. And then, a month or two later, that thing does happen and you're like, no way. Of course that, because if the information is coming directly from them, then they're much more aware of what's going to happen than I am. So I'm just passing it along. I'm not, making up the information as I go along. But oftentimes I'll ask to confirm. Like if I see something, I'll say, you sent me this, is this right? To make sure that I'm getting the right information. Or if they say something but don't put it in context, sometimes you have to ask because, they could, in the lost pets cases, for example, sometimes they'll send a picture of a car and you're like, okay, well, does that mean you're near a highway? Does that mean you got hit by a car? Does that mean you passed by a driveway that had a car that looked like that blue, hatchback? Because you need context in some cases, because sometimes they'll just say, music annoys me. And I'm like, okay, what kind of music? What environment are you in? What about the music annoys you? Is it disrupting your routine? Is it too loud and it hurts your ears? Like where is that information in your environment that's going to help you? So mostly when you learn animal communication, it's more about how to have the conversation, because I found the connecting was a lot easier than I thought it was. It could be because I have a background in animal Reiki and I know about, psychic connection and that kind of thing, but it came a lot easier than I thought it would. But trying not to make this video too long because I'm sure I have a lot more to say. My friend Sonia, who I did a video with on Friday, if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube already. We did it on Google Hangouts and it automatically live streamed to YouTube. We did one about energy work, and we're going to do one about animal communication in June or July. So keep an eye out for that. If you have more questions, feel free to send me a message. I'm super pumped about this. I'll also be announcing it on Instagram, so if you see another post about it, it's from their Instagram to Facebook. So get excited, because I have so much fun doing these, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. Thank you for tuning in, Monica. It's nice to have a live audience sometimes. You know, there's not always people to bounce questions back from. But have a fabulous rest of your week, and I will see you next week. The end of next week is my birthday, so I may be a little quieter on on social media next week, because my friend is flying in, and she gets in on Monday, and she's here for the whole week. So I may be a little bit quieter, but there will still be a live next week. And this one is about greyhounds. All fun stuff. So enjoy the warm weather while it lasts, and I will see you next week. Where is the hang up button?